So, anyway, our first topic is essentially the mighty Disney on a huge decline.
Yeah.
Now, this has come to sort of fruition for many, many weeks. We've been talking about various bits and pieces, and it's all culminated here, I think. And this will be the first, it's the domino falling, and there'll be many. It's all a big row. The pyramid will fall now. We had Bob Iger coming back, doing investors calls, basically saying, yeah, no, we need to downsize, hiring freezes. I think they've laid people off as well, if I remember rightly. We then had viewership numbers going down. And now we start to see it in action. And that comes to us actually in the form of Willow being cancelled after one season. Now, I know this sounds like a weird segue, but this is true. This is the very first domino falling in a long line that you will see. This will be the first of many, I believe. And it's the culmination of everything that we've been reporting on for weeks. Andre? Do
Yeah,
you
no,
agree, good sir?
I agree. This thing right here, there's so much to say about it. First and foremost, it is no wonder it is a surprise. Everyone that it is cancelled. There's no surprise that it's cancelled. Is what I meant to say. Sorry, it's been a long day. But anyway, no, because if you think back to when this thing here was on, everyone knew in advance it was going to be wokier than woke. Val Kilmer isn't in it. And even Warwick Davis. I mean, Warwick Davis, he's awesome, but look at him here. I mean, it doesn't even look right. He doesn't look like Willow. It looks like adult Warwick Davis cosplaying Willow. Like, so something is just like wrong with the whole mise-en-scene. They haven't been able to capture the look of the original. It just looks like this behind the scenes thing filmed with digital camera, drivel, bullcrap story, all woke the moment the first episode was broadcast or published, or everyone knew right away that this wasn't for the fans of the original. So obviously no one, or very few, watched it till the end. So the only one crying and begging for more were the crew working on it that ruined it in the first place. No one asked for it. It was horribly executed. So obviously it was going to fail. The bigger thing here is that it's more than the first domino falling. It's the latest in a long line of flops for Lucasfilm. Because think about it. How many properties does Lucasfilm have? They have Star Wars, which is down with a broken back right now. You have Indiana Jones, which will be down with a broken back upon the release of the new movie. And then you have Willow, which just had its first season cancelled. This is the ultimate failure of Kathleen Kennedy's leadership, because it happened on her watch. That's like my main takeaway from this. And of course, for Disney and for Bob Iger, it's just yet another nail in the coffin for Disney Plus. This is not what they wanted. They wanted Netflix, Disney Plus to be like a Netflix rival. You're not going to be that with programming like this that gets cancelled after the first season. And this wasn't meant to be a one series thing. They wanted this to go for like 5, 6, 7 seasons out of this.
Hence me saying this is going to be hence this being the culmination of everything that we've been individually and also group reporting on for weeks. This was supposed to continue, and it's being shit canned because everything you've said, but then everything which I said as well with respect to the downsizing on output, having to shrink costs, and they're like, right, this is trimming the fat. The old phrase, trimming the fat. This is them trimming the fat, getting rid of it all, and basically it's an admissions of failure as well. Huge admissions of failure. And I think, and I said this in my report, and no one corrected me, but I do actually think this is the very first thing which was made for Disney Plus, not the Disney Channel, but for Disney Plus. I think this is the first thing that has had one season, was meant to continue, that has been cancelled. I don't actually think there's anything else that has been cancelled after one season. Not that I
No,
can
you're
think
probably
of.
right because the other things that only went for one season were only meant to have one
Mm.
season. Of course, they were probably
So it's
hoping
a
for another one, but they weren't planning on it. The only thing where they were planning on a second season that we know was Loki. Where
oh,
it
but
indeed is
they are
happening.
getting a second season then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the
it is
thing.
getting a second season.
Yeah. So this is huge deal. You know, that marking its first epic failure. And again, it is a downs. You know, this is the the well, it's the mighty falling. You know, it's the giant toppling, as it were. Culture, you look like you want to chime in there, buddy.
Well, I would say that, yeah, I mean, on that side of things, Disney Plus is the first domino to fall. I agree with you 100%. I'm
Mm.
trying to remember whether or not we were supposed to get another What If season.
We are. It's coming.
Okay, all right, yeah, because I hadn't seen anything on that recently. So
No, it's in development.
with well, okay, but okay, let's do this. Would you be surprised, Andre, or anybody on this panel, if we see that get canceled? If we see subsequent seasons of something even as much, let's even suggest that maybe Mandalorian isn't being consumed in a large enough number for the cost, because that's what, like,
It's
I
a
think
very
that's the most
expensive one.
expensive show. And
Yeah.
and could you imagine that not getting a fourth season?
Well, now I can.
Yeah.
They only it's one. You know, this is the water breaking.
Yeah.
Right. The floodgates are going to open. This won't be the first and only. This will be the first of many. And anything is on the chopping block at this point. Anything will be on the chopping block. However, with respect to the Mandalorian and what differentiates them is they knew Willow was a bust from the off, because when they released it, there was no merchandise off the back end of it either. And that's where, you know, that's where they bank a lot of their cash as well. That's how Disney makes a substantial amount of their money off of these properties, is merchandising. They don't license their stuff out. They obviously do, merchandising in-house predominantly, license some stuff out, of course, but they had nothing on the Disney store for Willow. Nothing at all. No figures, literally nothing at all. And you're like, something's a bit wrong here, because they had stuff for normal Willow, but Willow sequel, nothing. So the difference is with the Mandalorian is that still generates a large portion of income from licensing and merchandising, because they do license stuff out as well, because you'll get, like, there's the odd high street shop that was clearly bought a license to make some Grogu thing. They still make a substantial amount of income from the Mandalorian outside of the viewership. Willow, though, they knew was dead. They knew it was defunct from the off, even though they still planned to do more, but they knew it was a dud. They didn't do any merch for this stuff remotely. But it'll be interesting, because this is still the dam bursting. There'll be many more to follow, but it'll be interesting to see what comes next. I don't know if you have anything to add to the merchandising element there, Andre.
Well, it's not going well for them, is it? I mean, the entire merchandising empire that Disney very much so was built upon, it's kind of like imploded. I mean, even Grogu used to be like a hot seller, but now it's so bad that I would not be surprised if unsold Grogu toys are a big part of the collapse of those stupid things, like not bobbleheads, like the mini thing. The hell are they called again? Like the
Funko Pop.
Funko Pops. Yes, thank you, Paulie.
Yeah, that is true. That is very, very true.
Well, they've been suffering with merchandise declines for quite some period of time. But more on the theater properties that
Marvel, and Star Wars products, they're forever in the bargain bin.
Yeah, but
the toys are.
This has been a property that's been beloved by a specific audience for a long period of time, and they deviated so wildly from source that they could not engage those people. And I believe they knew that this was going to happen, and they went looking for the imaginary audience that has never materialized. And at the same time, they're literally driving away people from their products. And I mean, they're everything, including T-shirts and
Well,
lightsabers and coffee mugs, and
that's a question I was going to ask, because I know they exist as far as the OG Willow fans.
Yeah.
Was in your circles, maybe in the chat too as well, was there any hype? Was there any connection? Was there any anticipation? Did they reach out to, like, Willow fan sites? I don't know what, for that show.
No, this show is the definition of who asked for this. It's
I was about to say,
who asked for this.
Which Willow fan sites would that be? The Facebook
No, I don't know. Listen, I barely remember the first movie. I know it was good, some cool stuff. I didn't see this at all. I had no desire to see this at all. So I'm just curious, because if they had that targeted audience that they could rely on, the OG Willow fans, maybe they didn't connect with them because they knew that they wouldn't like what they were going to see.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
But then again, Paul, you're targeting an audience which has proven time and time again not to exist. They've never materialized.
No, I'm totally with you. I'm talking about, what they tried to do with Amazon and Rings of Power is that they tried to create a new audience, right? To love the Rings of Power. And so what did they do? They brought on influencers and did that whole circus. And you know how the true Tolkien fans have reacted to that.
Super fans, right?
They were super fans,
hilarious.
Influencers.
That was so funny.
They even called themselves the Fellowship of Influencers. I mean, that's a great way to show everyone what a legitimate fan you are. And I do believe that half of them still haven't seen it, and like follow-up questions and everything.
Well, also too, Andre, I think one of them did see it and didn't like it.
Not surprised.
Yeah.
I don't know how you could cheer for that show one way or another, but I foresee what you're predicting, Nate. I think we're going to see show after show after show. It was maybe 4 or 5 of the shows they've announced for Disney Plus get canceled. Like the stuff that hasn't started shooting, the stuff that isn't too far along the production side of things. I can't anticipate them going forward with this. I keep mentioning this, and it keeps being true. They've spent $50 billion here, and they've got very little to show for it, if anything at all.
Yeah.
And Disney Plus is kind of this really strange boondoggle that is maybe the best example of wasting, desperately needed capital. In pursuit of a market that isn't there. I mean, the reason Netflix was successful was because it was fed by all these other entities, and the reason that they were able to accumulate extra revenue was because of Netflix, and it was a wonderful symbiotic relationship that all of these streaming services destroyed, which is why they're all turning backwards. They're following Zaslav's lead, and they're pursuing
rid of IPs, selling off.
Yeah, well, at least licensing them out, distributing their video content to other services, and so on and so forth. And that's going to be the model. And Iger had to come out in order to fend off Peltz and do exactly that. I anticipate that the stockholders meeting. What do you think, Andre? You think it's going to be a show?
Oh yeah, I look forward to this one. I think this one is going to be great fun with Ant-Man flopping, with Willow being cancelled,
subpoenaing Reddit.
Yeah, with the subpoenaing Reddit, and with the rumors of production trouble on the Marvels,
the Lucasfilm lawsuit over the
the Lucasfilm lawsuit for the Acolyte.
The Mandalorian ratings.
The Mandalorian
viewership.
The one thing that they could rely on the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It literally is the last bastion of.
It's the only hope. We're talking about the only hope, new hope.
Help me, Mandalorian. You're my only hope.
That's true.
It's true.
Yeah.
Ollie nailed it. It's 100% true. I mean, here's the weird thing, right? For the first time, I saw something I was interested in Mando's 3. Are we going to talk about this or no?
Later.
I'll be quiet.
I have not seen Mando. I just have to Right, I have nothing to
You did
contribute.
not miss much.
Nick, Nick, you've not been speaking much about this whole topic. What do you think
Yeah,
about
I'm not surprised at all on this Willow thing. Again, like you were saying earlier, who asked for this show? And then their creative decisions with the wokeness and representation and all that, like even like so when they announced it, I liked the original movie and I was like, oh, they're doing a Willow show. I was like, oh, cool, like I definitely want to watch this. And then as soon as I found out what they were doing and what they were injected into it, I was out. I wasn't watching it, and there's a lot of other fans that were in the same boat. And you know, I did hear something about the show, and I pulled up an episode just to watch the end credits. And literally, has anyone here actually seen or watched any of the episodes or shows
Of Willow?
Of Willow?
I got through the majority of the first episode, I think.
Wow.
Okay, so but you didn't get to the end of it.
Hell no.
Okay,
No.
okay. All right. So at the end of these episodes of a Willow show, which is a medieval times, fantasy-esque show, they have renditions of rock music like Metallica, and all the, and I'm like, what the hell is this playing over the credits? Like somebody said something. I saw somebody comment like, why are they playing Metallica at the end of this episode? And I'm like, surely they're joking. And I pulled it up on Disney Plus, and sure enough, it was like a rendition to like Enter Sandman or something. And I'm just like, oh god,
that's so bizarre.
So I mean,
to that show, right?
Yeah,
to Willow.
Yeah, to Willow. In every single episode of Willow, at the end credits, it would be a new rendition of a modern day rock song.
What does that have to do with the show? Like,
nothing.
What a weird creative choice.
Absolutely nothing.
Let me see this, because I didn't see the show. Did it kind of filtered itself to look like some sort of like look and feel of a Western, but in Willow Land or something?
No.
But Andre could probably direct it more directly, but I believe again, the aesthetic did not land because it was not consistent with the film. It's the same,
not in the slightest.
Yeah, it would be the same complaints that I think a lot of us had with the rangs of power. Is that, and again, consider how many generic fantasy shows were airing at the same time.
Yeah.
You had the blood orange thing, and I say it that way, not blood orange. You had all of these shows competing with each other, and they were all trash. But I think honestly, when you disconnect from the audience because you can't land the aesthetic, I think it really harms your property right from the get go. So
it's the full audio visual thing with the Metallica thing in there, and I will say one more thing about that, because it all comes back to the question, all of these things, who is this made for? Because the past decade, we have basically seen like new iterations of Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, Willow, The Lord of the Rings, and they seem to go out of their way to alienate the built-in audience and instead try to hook in a new, younger, hipper, more diverse audience before. Basically, they follow the mentality of if you make it, they will come. We make it for a new audience we imagine exist, and then that audience will spring into existence. So here, but this is the thing that kind of like defies belief, because then what kind of audience is interested in a new woke version of a property they previously did not care about? And these people who would be interested in something like that, they're going to have a nervous breakdown from listening to Metallica. So why put Metallica in their show? They're not going to like that.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. Creative choices on these things are so bizarre. But that just that as an example alone perfectly encapsulates, the downfall of Disney in general. The creative choices are just so fucked.
Yeah,
just across the board, that's so bizarre.
And like I've said in the past and stuff, it just shows a total disconnect from the people creating these things to the fan base out there. And the thing is also the show, the Willow show, ended on a cliffhanger. Like
because they planned to make more.
Yeah, going into a season 2, it literally leaves on a cliffhanger to where it's like, oh man, what's gonna happen next? And now nobody's gonna ever know whatever happens because nobody gave a shit about their woke modern day crap show. And it's a tragedy.
To be fair, I don't think that anyone even knew it ended on a cliffhanger because all of 20 people managed to stick there until the final episode.
Yeah.
I think everyone else checked out before. So I think they all decided that, it's probably not worth the expense to see this story through. But you can see all the creatives. They were desperate for a season 2. And they thought that ending it on a cliffhanger, that's going to guarantee an ending. I love it when they do that, when they end on a cliffhanger. Like one of my favorite examples there is our good friend Mike, the Mexican Man's favorite. You know how Alf, the series, was ended? Yeah. That also ended on a cliffhanger. The cliffhanger is that Alf is caught by the American authorities, taken away to be dissected and, vivisected, basically. And thus ended Alf.
Oh dear.
That's his favorite TV show?
No, it's his least favorite.
Yeah.
Oh, I was
but I do
breaking
think
news.
you would appreciate that final episode.
Right.
The thing is now when you see a lot of these shows that are supposed to be fantasy, in particular Willow, even in the clips, right? You have very modern language used, and it's very stilted.
Oh yeah.
And I think a lot of that comes out of the fact that they have to do a lot of exposition. You know, they talk about things, but they don't show things. And I think it really and again, this is like movie making or TV making 101. You don't do that, and that's what all of these suffer from. It's because of the writing. I mean, I think it was Paulie or probably Andre or somebody that's not me that said that. It's the writing that's killing these things. So.
But it's also the creative choices from the off. The show never should have been made anyway, right?
Yeah.
Like this is a show that was literally for no one, and that shows just in its general response.